Hello, welcome to American Dream, Latin Souls. I'm Daniel Ortiz, and today my guest is entrepreneur Bob Sachs. Bob, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Bob, I'm excited to have you on our program because when we talk about Latino entrepreneurs, especially in the national consciousness, your business is atypical. You are the CEO and president of Team Technologies, which is a high-tech manufacturing and industrial business which has national implications, and you're doing some pretty heavy stuff on a national basis, so we would definitely want to hear about your business.
Sure.
But before we get into your specific business, Bob, what is your American dream and what does it mean to you?
Well, my American dream, Daniel, is just to be able to work hard, to have a dream that you can conceive and you can go after and make it happen. And I think we live in the best country in the world that lets you do that. And you know, you have to have a system that can clear the track for entrepreneurs and give you the ability to do that. And we can do that here in America. We're lucky that way.
Definitely so, and particularly so with Hispanics in America. The untold story, again, is that, you know, we're starting businesses at a rate 4 times faster than the population at large. And if you're a Latina, you're 6 times more likely to go into business. So the opportunity's there, and I think our culture lends itself to an entrepreneurial mindset, if you will.
Right.
Okay. So growing up, did you have a concept of a dream? Because your business now is huge, and I'm excited to get into it, but I'm going to talk about your background.
Sure.
Growing up, did you have a dream?
Well, I did. I mean, I grew up in family business, so I was lucky that way, sitting around the kitchen table talking about business. Both sides of my family were in business. My grandfather on my dad's side started Sachs Appliance. It was the Maytag appliance store in 1946. Is that right? And my dad grew up in that business. I grew up in that business, and then on my mother's side of the family, they had auto dealerships and motels and all kinds of things. So I was fortunate that I grew up around it.
You had that environment.
It was all around, yeah.
Okay. So I want to talk about some of the awards that your business has won. You won, again, this is Team Technologies, the company that you founded. You won the New Mexico fastest growing high-tech company in New Mexico. You won the Oro Award from Sandia National Labs, which is a major national defense contractor. Is that right?
That's right.
You won the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber Corporate Citizen of the Year. The U.S. Department of Commerce awarded you with the Minority Technology Firm of the Year.
That's right.
From the Department of Defense. That's fantastic. The SBA, you won a Director Choice Award from the Small Business Administration. Sandia Labs, again, Partnership Award. And these are just a few of them. We don't have time to go all over the page of what you've done. And you won the U.S. Space Program Award of Excellence. So you're doing something right.
Well, yeah, I like to think we are. You know, sometimes it's a challenge and things come out of left field when you're in business. You know, there's always something that you didn't plan on that comes from, and you say, gosh, where'd that come from? You got to deal with it. Right. But yeah, we work awful hard, and those are just third-party validation of what we're doing, and we're awful proud of those awards. We work hard to and it's not really for the award's sake. It's just a validation that you're doing things right.
So give us the scope of what it is that your business does. Give us the broad scope.
Well, we started the business. It was originally started as Team Specialty Products in about 1986, and it spun out of Sandia National Labs as supporting pulse power science work. And I bought the business in 2001, and I renamed it Team Technologies, along with another company that I bought from Rio Rancho that did electronic manufacturing, and that was called MC Manufacturing. And I combined the two and made Team Technologies. And so what we do is new product development. It's the kind of thing that it started with the national labs coming to us and saying, okay, we're doing this new experiment. We need this product. We just have a vision of what that product ought to be. It's not something you can go to a catalog and just say, give me model number, blah, blah, blah. So it's got to be developed and built. And so that's how we developed our core business around that capability. And since then, we've expanded to do a lot more work with commercial entities. Just about any invention in this region of the United States ends up at our doorstep because we can design it, we can build it, we can test it, we can get them into production.
So tell us about some of your clients. Who have some of your national clients been?
Some of our national clients, of course, the military. We do a lot of work with the Army, the Air Force, the Marines, the Navy. On the commercial side, Johnson & Johnson Ethicon, endosurgery is a big customer of ours. A company in Albuquerque that's kind of a sleeper company is Mega Corporation. They build these big water trucks, and they're building them all over the world. We designed and built the control section that goes in those big water trucks. We're also supporting a company in the Four Corners area in the natural gas monitoring, where we help them to develop a system to monitor natural gas wells at a remote site.
So that's fascinating to me, because you're taking ideas and you're making them into reality. I mean, it's got to be, the process has to be amazing to me, because you're creating something out of nothing, and something that never even existed, and maybe only in theory.
We are, and it's a lot of fun. It's
not your typical Latino business, or maybe it should be, or maybe it is, and we don't know about it.
I think there's actually a lot more than you think.
Okay.
Especially in this area around the national labs here in the Albuquerque area and here in New Mexico.
Well, Latinos are getting more into high tech nationally,
Yeah.
and you know, we wanted to share those stories, and you're part of it.
Sure.
But especially with the internet and with, you know, even in social media, Latinos are at the forefront of a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
And Bob Sachs.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about the name Sachs. And I know
Well,
not all Latinos have a Spanish surname, so tell us about your background.
Sure. Well, my background, my family goes back, you know, the 400 years, typical here in New Mexico. But the Sachs came in 1850 on the Missouri Trail. My great-great-grandfather, Martin Moses Sachs, came here on a wagon train as a trader, a merchant, and ended up settling in Belen, New Mexico, and married into the local Hispanic population. And so I say I'm 1/16 German Jew and 15th, 16th Spanish American. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we got that settled. We got the Sachs part settled.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So growing up, did you, I know you said you have some entrepreneurs and business in your background. Did you grow up as an entrepreneur? Because I think entrepreneurs, they're a different breed. We're a different breed.
Sure.
We think differently, and usually there's a pattern. Were you an entrepreneur growing up? Did you have businesses? Did you sell?
Well,
things?
you know, I always loved being around the business, the family business. I went to St. Mary's School there in Belen, and it was right behind Sachs Appliance. So after school, starting from, gosh, I think probably 3rd, 4th grade, I would walk over to the appliance store, and I would start off just kind of dusting the appliances, sweeping the floor, and then I moved up to fixing Ringer Maytag washing machines.
Is that right?
And then from there, I just loved being on the technical side. So I was always in the back with my uncle, and he was the repair guy, and he taught me how to repair washers, dryers, refrigerators, all that stuff. And that's what I did to get myself through college down at New Mexico State. Okay. I fixed appliances.
So it's quite a leap going from fixing washing machines to high-tech space technology.
Well, it is.
It was a good,
on
I guess,
one
good
hand,
training, though, right?
It is. On one hand, it is, and people ask when they see my business, they say, "Gosh, how'd you create this?" And I say, "Well, this is just an extension of me and my brother's bedroom when we were growing up. You know, we had all kinds of wires connected here and there, and so we were always playing around with kind of experiments and things like that. So it was always kind of in the blood, I think.
Yeah, so it's innate, and that's one of the traits I find with successful people is they find their calling, and they find their natural talents and abilities, things that they enjoy, things that they're interested in, and again, there's always a pattern from they were young, and it just follow that path or follow what they love, and things happen. Things happen.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, my case, I never thought that I wouldn't own my own business. I worked for Hughes Aircraft much of my engineering career, and that was a very good experience to work for a large company, developing tactical missiles, and so I was a rocket scientist for a long time, and so I learned that, and so I learned that discipline of systems engineering approach, and I brought that back to team, and it really brought that to play there. And so yeah, I don't know how to describe whether it comes naturally or whether it's a combination of natural and your environment that you're around. It's probably both.
I think so. In your case, you had the natural inclination for it, but your environment supported that.
Yeah,
and so this is the result. So let's talk about your business. You have different applications of what you do in your business. I think we've got some photos of some of the work. So tell us some of the work that you've done.
Well, we've done the majority of our work started around pulse power sciences.
So this is where we're looking at here.
Right here is an electronic circuit board. We have an electronic fab area, and so we not only design in these boards, but we build them as well. And we build them we can build a pretty high rate. We just finished a very large Army program with a project called it's kind of an electronic tripwire that the soldiers can use to alert them that there's enemy in the area. It was a very high volume work, and we built thousands and thousands of circuit boards for that product. And so we're building products like that, plus products like the Mega for the trucks and the natural gas well monitoring. So we designed those, and now those are in production. So.
And you have a team. How large is your business? How many employees?
Right now we're down to about 50 employees. We had a recent layoff because a big Army project ended, came to an end, and unfortunately we had to let some folks go. But we've also got about 25 engineers in our business. We've got 7 PhDs that are in our building, and part of those are part of companies that we're incubating. They're not on my payroll necessarily. I've got 1 PhD on my payroll, and the rest are there as part of the incubation that we're doing for starting new companies.
Okay, we talked about that earlier, and I want to get back to that.
Sure.
You showed me one photo on your website. Has something to do with explosives. So tell me about that, and I think we'll see that.
Sure.
There we go. So what is?
Yeah, we developed a product. Sandia was actually the original inventor of the product.
Sandia National Laboratory.
Sandia National Laboratory
has a contract, I guess, with the government.
They do a Department of Energy contract, and they developed some explosive devices for taking out landmines, taking out IEDs in Iraq and Afghanistan, and also for bomb squads. They use these devices to take out bombs. And so we licensed the technology from Sandia, and we improved on it for the bomb squad people. We made some design changes to it, and we produced them in high volume, and we've got them all over Afghanistan, saving lives.
Wow,
yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's got to be dangerous work, though. I mean, you're working with explosives. Do you have to have a special building, or?
Well, the device that we build doesn't actually have the explosive in it. The soldier puts the explosive in the device.
I see.
And the device just helps to render the explosive. All the testing was done at Sandia National Labs at their test facilities, but we did rapid prototyping where we were able to develop the product rapidly. We would take it out to the range, test it, we'd see what went right, what went wrong, we'd go back, we'd do some 3D printing, go back out to the range the next day with a new product, test it again, and we kept iterating until we got it right. And we won the award, Time Magazine. 2011, it was one of the 50 best inventions of that year in Time Magazine.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, wow. But do we have a photo of that on your website?
It is. If you go onto our website and you see a button there called Energetics, you'll see a YouTube video of that device being used and how the soldiers use it.
So with all these projects, I mean, what is the scope of your business in financial terms? Just give us general dollars. What kind of, and this is a privately held company?
It's a privately held company. Our revenues have been hovering somewhere around the $10–11 million a year mark. But we truly believe in our hearts that we can be a $100, $200, $300 million company, especially with some of these new inventions that we're working on, with this transmission that we're working on, with some concentrated solar power energy products that we're working on. So we're real excited about what's happening, and you know, it's been a tough road, though. I'm not going to tell you things have been easy. Technology development is you got to have a lot of patience. You got to have some guts to go with it, because a lot of it comes from internal fortitude, I guess.
Okay, well that's where I want to go with the interview, because again we talked about the entrepreneur path is not the easy path in life. Entrepreneurs are a different breed, and so I mean, I can only imagine some of the challenges that you've had along your path. So tell me, what are the challenges that you've had to face as an entrepreneur in this particular business? I
think the biggest challenge we had is a large contract that we had with Sandia National Labs came to an end suddenly without us really knowing that was going to come to an end. We had supported that for 20 years.
Wow.
And it looked like it was going to go, I mean, it seemed like one of those things that was going to go on forever. and it was our 800-pound gorilla project. You know, it was when they said jump, we said how high, and we helped Sandia set, you know, hundreds of world records with that technology, and you know, budget constraints and things like that brought it to an end. So that was a real tough challenge. We had to lay off people that had been with us for 15, 20 years at you know, around Christmas time back in 2010, and it was all the same time the economy started to go down, and banks weren't lending money to small business anymore, and so cash flow became a real tough thing to get through. I mean, there were times when I think I stood out my window, kind of just staring out the window, thinking, "Oh my God, how am I going to make payroll?" You know, and so you go through those cycles. And the good news is we came out on the good side. We're the only one left of our competitors left standing after all this.
Is that right?
So the other ones
cleared out the competition.
It cleared out the competition. They still exist, but they all got bought out by large companies because of all the cash flow stuff. And so
probably
now
at a lower price than what they wanted to.
Yeah, could be. I don't know what their situation was, but the good news is we survived it, and I think we're going to be stronger for it.
There was a quote by one of the industrialists from the industrial age when it started out, and I'll have to research it, but he said, "A man isn't a man until he meets payroll."
Yeah. Well,
that's
I
always
think
seems to be like the primary concern of a business owner, especially because you feel responsible for your employees. Right?
You do, absolutely. I mean,
and are you the last one to get paid?
I'm the last one to get paid.
Okay, that's what
it's been a while that I've seen you know.
And I want our audience to know that.
Sure.
You know, you have a big building, and a lot of entrepreneurs, they have, you know, their business that looks successful, and maybe they've gotten written up in the media. But underneath that, you know, we're the last ones to get paid most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Not the first, the last.
The last, absolutely, and that still holds true to today. So, yeah.
So, do you think you're a good target for maybe a big company coming buying you out, and is that something that
we
you
are,
have thought about?
And I mean, I would say that once a year, I either have 2 or 3 people approach me to say, "Hey, are you for sale? I'd like to buy you," or they come approach me and say, "Would you be interested in buying us?" To merge into your company. And so we probably look at 2 or 3 acquisitions a year in terms of either merge or buy or sell, and then we've created about 12 new companies, and a lot of those are getting some legs to them, and those would be very good targets for buyouts or potentially venture capital money. I haven't really taken venture capital money into the core of the company, but some of these startups that we're pursuing are good places for
So is that part of your incubator?
It's part of our incubation.
I'm going to talk about that as a separate item, but I'm going to finish this thought about your acquisition. So you obviously you're a good target, and so is that, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, that's their goal. They want to start a business, build it up, sell it, cash out, start again.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's my true goal. I mean, I've been told that you're going to exit your business one of 3 ways, right? You're going to sell it, you're going to give it to your kids, and they're going to take over the business, or you're going to die. And so one of those 3 things is going to happen. And so I've also kind of learned that you shouldn't sell your business when you think it's time to sell your business. So you should always have that bow kind of ready to go at any given time when the right opportunity comes along. And that's when you should sell your business, when the market says it's time to sell your business.
Or you get an offer you can't refuse.
You get an offer you can't refuse, yeah.
All right. All right, very good. So you're not just having your production in your own business, you're incubating other businesses.
That's right.
So how does that work?
Well, it's taken on several different ways. We're incubating some where I just give them very low rent space in our building, and it allows us to with synergies with each other.
For our audience who may not know what the term incubation means or not business, what is an incubator?
An incubator is where you take a startup company that is just coming along, and you help them along with whether it's technology.
So they kind of leverage your resources?
They leverage our resources. Okay. We have one that just came in that invented a new gas switch that they think they can sell several 100,000 of these. Well, he did it in his garage. He needed a real place that when he brings his customers over, he says, yeah, you can build 200,000 of these things. So it takes on anything from where we just give them cheap rent, and in exchange for we get manufacturing rights if they're successful, to where we've taken equity positions in some of these companies. So we have everything everywhere from 33% down to 2% ownership in several companies that we're incubating. And one very interesting one is it's a new kegerator for the craft beer and wine industry. These guys,
what is that, a kegerator?
A kegerator, yeah,
What is that?
For being able to put different size kegs of these craft beers. And the whole idea is one that your wife will let you have in the house. And so these guys approached me if I could help them design it. I kind of tried to make them go away, actually, and I took them to a factory in Mexico that builds refrigerators, and they turned the project down because they had just been bought by a Brazilian company. And so they came back and we said, okay, we'll take the project, and we designed it, and now we're getting our first prototype built down in Mexico.
Okay.
And we think we can sell about 10,000 units a year.
Is that right?
So that's just an example of one, and we took an equity position in that.
Right. So that's business helping business.
Right.
I know you have government contracts, so does the
Sure.
government, what role does government play in what you do? I don't know.
We're probably 50-50, 50% government and 50% commercial.
Okay.
Some of the government work that we
But
do.
as far as regulations, and do they hinder you, what you're doing?
Yeah,
challenge?
you know, there's always obstacles on the track that regulation seems to put in the way. I mean, for me as a businessman, I wish they would go in front of the track as we're running and clear the track with obstacles instead of putting obstacles. But you know, as you just kind of get numb to all that stuff, and you just say, well, gosh, if I'm going to really hunker down, I'm going to have to just figure a way around that, and you just do that. I mean, you can do that, or you can tap out. You can say, you know, there's too much regulation, I'm tapping out. Or you can just say, well, I got to just figure out a way to deal with that.
Yeah, and I hear that in the political debates and the fights that they have. And,
Sure.
and they always say there is too much regulation, there is. But I've never met an entrepreneur who said, I'm not going to follow my dream, or I'm not going to pursue this opportunity because of regulation.
Yeah,
they just go through it.
Yeah, we go through it. We complain about it an awful lot, and it really hurts your margins.
Right.
And
I've never heard an opportunity say, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah,
Because
they're out there.
If the dream is big enough and the opportunity is big enough, it's they're going to go through that.
I think so. I think there's going to be a point where they are going to say, you know, enough is enough, and I think we got to watch that balance on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back to the incubation program. So is that a separate business, a separate entity, or is that part of?
No, it's part of Team Technologies,
part of it, like a division?
And what we do is when we create a new company, we'll create a new LLC typically, and then we'll
Limited liability
company as opposed to Team Technologies as a C corporation.
So is there a separate legal separation there?
There is. There's separate legal. But we'll we'll determine what's our contribution, and that's how we'll determine our ownership in that LLC, and we'll run those separately.
Okay. So what are some of the success stories?
Well, the one that we're working on right now is an infinitely variable transmission, and the oil industry is very interested in this for pump off. It's a problem that happens on oil wells when they pump too fast. They get this condition called pump off, and they can actually blow seals. They can break a sucker rod on the well, and so what they would like to do is be able to control the strokes on those. They'd like to go down maybe to 2 strokes a minute for a while, 6 strokes a minute for a while, and so we solved that problem with this technology. It originally came from Sandia National Labs. We licensed it from them, 15 years ago. And we've been working on it since. And the Department of Energy told us years ago that we're solving a very tough problem for industrial electric motors, that we can save probably 30% of the energy that is used to drive large industrial electric motors.
Is that right?
With this technology. But they said, don't put it out on the market till you're completely convinced it's going to last and it's going to be reliable. So we've been just shaking it out for several years on our own nickel. We haven't asked for any VC money, any investment, so we put our retained earnings right back into our technology.
And that's smart, and that's smart entrepreneurship, because you hear a lot about it in the national magazines about companies in Silicon Valley raising money and going public, and what the public doesn't realize a lot of the time is that the owners, the founders, their equity position, what they own, goes from 100% down to sometimes 5%.
Yeah.
and a lot of times they even lose their business.
Yeah.
They lose control of their business. So there's always got to be a temptation, though.
Oh, there is. There's a temptation.
When they want to throw you money and
Yeah.
say, but give me half or even more of the business sometimes.
Yeah, you get to, you know, you almost feel like you're selling your soul to the devil or something, you know. But so you got to be careful. I mean, there's a role for VC and angel investors and that kind of thing. I just hadn't felt it was the role in the core business, but again, these startups are pretty ideal places for those kinds of things. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, well, kudos to you and congratulations
Thanks.
on your business. And
Thank you.
You're doing a lot of amazing work, and you know, we're very proud of you. And so, in the minute we have left, Bob, tell us, what advice would you give to any budding entrepreneur, maybe some kid who's working in his uncle's or father's store and doing work? What advice would you give to anybody who wants to go into business?
I would say keep up the dream. Don't be afraid to lose everything. I mean, if you want to really be an entrepreneur,
Take a risk.
You got to be willing to take a risk, and you got to be willing to say, you know, if I got to live in the back of my truck for a while, I'm going to live in the back of my truck for a while, and find a partner in your life that's going to do that with you. And never play into this thing, especially as Hispanics. The thing that really gets me the most is you see Hispanics saying, well, there's a villain and there's a victim. I just don't buy that. There's no villain out there, and there's no. If you want to say I'm a victim, then you're going to be a victim.
Right.
You just got to say I got to learn how to play in that sandbox, and then I'm going to create a sandbox that they're going to want to play in.
Very good.
And that's what the advice I would say.
Very good. You've got a great sandbox, and we're very proud of you, and you're a great role model for Hispanic entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank our audience for joining us on this version of American Dream Latin Souls. Be sure to visit us online at latinosuccess.com.